Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to a new series on Zoo Tycoon 2 called Exhibit Tutorials. So basically what I'm doing is building an exhibit live while walking you guys through it, sort of explain the process that I use when I build my exhibits, and just sort of give you some tips and tricks, I guess, if you will, along the way. But the exhibits will be a lot simpler, a lot less detailed than the ones that do in speed builds, because those builds usually take me around an hour to make. So if I was doing that, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the size. Some take even longer if they're a really big enclosure. But because of those, I don't want these videos to be like an hour long. I'm going to keep the exhibits pretty simple. So for the first one, I'm going to do a pretty basic animal from the vanilla game, the Thompson's Gazelle. So let's get started. The first thing I do is just lay out a basic framework for the exhibit. Just try to get like an image in your mind, like a shape in your mind that you might want to look like. You could look at real pictures of exhibits for the animal or animals similar to it, because they usually can be kept in similar situations in zoos. You could go to a zoo and look at it in person too, if you have the ability to do that. But I just sort of think of a basic shape that I think looks interesting, and I go from there. Change this bit up. I don't like it. So, and then I usually separate, if I know there's going to be a path, then I'm going to outline in a fence. Oh, I should mention these border fences. You can get them on a pack. They're a mod, obviously. You can find them on Zeta Design's site from Ruby and Sophie, and they're in a pack called border fences. So they're really useful for things like this, for laying out what an enclosure is going to look like. And there's 3 different colors: brown ones, the light gray ones, and the dark gray ones. And I usually would use them to separate what everything's going to be. I usually use brown for the fences, and the light or dark gray for what'll end up being paths, fences that'll surround the paths. And then I'll use the dark ones for shelters. So here we'll probably put a barn. Maybe right there. You know what, I think I'll do a barn right here. Just lay out a basic shape. That's really all I need to do at this point. And I think I'll put a planter box right here. Okay, since that's done, the next thing I usually do is put in the path, because it's just easy to get out of the way. Just, pick one path, pick a couple paths if you think they look good together. I'll just use a real simple one for this. Actually, I'll use something for the base game. So let's just use the regular concrete. Yeah. One of the things I do want to do in this series, I want to make sure that people who don't use any mods at all could still get something out of it. Because I know not everyone likes to use mods, which is totally cool. Oh, I missed the spot. Okay. I think I'm actually going to build a little building here too. Maybe a Zookeeper Entrance. Alright, now you can lay in the basic ground. I always start with the dirt first. Just lay out everything in dirt, and then I'll put the grass in afterwards. The other thing you can do is, once you've laid it out in dirt, it makes it really easy to remove fences if you want to change elevation. So you could remove the fence here, add a little bit of a hill in the back, smooth it out, and just put the fence back in. Because if you don't do that, you can change the ground on either side of the fence, but you can't change the elevation of the ground that the fence actually sits on, which will make it look really unnatural most of the time. So, alright, now we'll just find a fence. Find something pretty basic. I usually like to use two different fences, one that guests can't see through and one that they can. So it gives the animals more privacy. It's usually more realistic that way. Let's use, I can find it, yeah. Here's this one for the background fence. It's a nice savanna looking fence. Yeah, let's use this basic chain link fence. And then we're going to decide what wood we want to use for, oh, I should surround that. Let's get this small fence. I know which one I'm looking for, I just gotta find it. Here it is. Okay. Alright, so next we want to decide which of the building sets we want to use. And all the building sets that I use come from Zeta Designs as well, so there'll be a link to that in that site in the description, so that's a good place to get both that and the path border fences. And if you don't already have it, you can also get a non-grid hack, so you can place foliage and rocks off the grid that the base game has. So I think I'll just use something like this light brown one here. And yeah, a little bit of an interesting design. Keep it simple, but interesting at the same time. Something like that, which looks a little weird now, but it'll look better in a second. And we'll use the same over here for the stable or barn, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this will work. And then do I want to put something? I could do that. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay. And then we'll add, let's go with the trees next. Just add a couple. I'll put, and when you're placing foliage, you could do, you could just use foliage that's native to that, the country, or I mean the continent the animal's from. You could just use foliage that's from that biome. Excuse me, or you could just use any foliage that you want. I tend to try and keep it to the part of the world that the animal's from, but I don't worry about it too much. There's not enough diversity if you sort of limit yourself to that. So I'll just use a couple of these different acacia trees. One here. Put a couple of them outside of the exhibit as well. Let's get it. And it's the you can rotate them to make it a little more interesting. Oh, and I think I'll put one of these big ones there. That'll change some foliage changes the ground. Some of it doesn't, so something to keep in mind. And if you'd already done all the ground inside the exhibit and wanted to didn't want to mess it up, so you'd already applied different dirt textures and different grass textures, what you could do if you wanted to place this tree, which you know if you place it'll add its own grass underneath it, just place it somewhere outside the exhibit and you can move it and place it inside and it won't add any grass underneath it. So but it's also easy enough to just change it. Okay, so get rid of that. And now I think we'll go with some rocks. I'll just use some of the basic savanna rocks from the base game, which obviously are remade with Radical Remake, but These are technically the rocks from the base game. So we'll just put some of them around. Yeah, that looks about right. You know, just place somewhere because you don't want to make it. You don't want to overthink it when you're placing stuff, you know, because it's nature's. It's random, you know. There's not a. If you try to make it look too symmetric, too, you know, man-made, then it'll sort of take away from it. I mean, maybe if you want to go with a zoo that looks more manufactured like that, you could do that as well, because I'm sure there's some that are like that, or they don't care as much about making the exhibits look natural. It's all just individual. Okay, so now I'll just add some foliage. Just want to add some grass, basically. A few of these. I like the look of them. And there's a couple here. Then I want just some ground cover. So I think I'm actually going to go to another biome. I think it's not freshwater. Is it tropical coast? No. I think it's temperate coast. Yeah. I like this grass right here for savanna exhibits. I think it looks pretty good. I'm not going to go overboard with this either. That's probably good. Okay, now I'm just going to add some food dishes and enrichment items. So we got rock water dish right here. We can put that there. Food we could put right there. A little more over there. And then if you want to hide certain, I like to use, like, you know, some enrichment items, especially if I'm building a full zoo, so the animals will be happier, and they won't freak out. But like, so if you want to use something like the salt lick, which looks kind of weird if you just leave it out in the open, you can just hide it inside bigger rocks. Which they'll still use it because all these rocks have no hitbox. Okay, and I think now we can just add the roof. So finish these two barns. Let's start with the this one right here. So let's just find a roof that I like. I'll use this one. Let's just go with that. And then if you want to build something where it's angled like this, probably one of the better ways to do it is to start from the ground and just line it up. Or actually, you know what? There's actually a better way to do that. So you could build something right here. I take the one for angling up. Just. Did I do this wrong? I think I did this wrong. Yes, I did. This is too high. Let me fix that real quick. 1, 2, 3, not 3, 4. Okay. So now you can just go to the lowest point right here, put some coordinate path in, and then just go up. And I probably should use the simpler path. It doesn't have the railings, so it's easier for you guys to see. But I'll change the railings in just a second. Okay, let's just go with this railing. And I'm also going to show you, I get a lot of questions about how to do the floating railings. Well, actually I won't do that here, I'll do that over there on the other one. Here I can just fill that in with the right color fence right there. Okay, so there's a Zookeeper entrance. If you wanted to, you could decorate the inside with items and stuff that it looked like the zookeepers would use. I'm not going to do that because I'm not doing super detailed with this. I'm already probably making it a little more detailed than I need to, but it's just habit, I guess, at this point. And I will do this one right here. So to the front. Okay. Delete all the excess. And then just I want to get rid of that. Come on, there we go. And now we want the same order that we use on the other one to keep it so it looks like it matches. That's one of the more important things I think when you're building an exhibit, especially if you're building like a full zoo or multiple exhibits together, is to sort of find one, what's the word? Color, you know, one scheme, color scheme of like, you know, use palette, that's the word, like one palette of plants, rocks, fences, elevated paths. You can even, if you want to, just kind of go over here to the corner of the map and just place everything you're going to use, one of each kind, like this is the trees I'm using, this is the foliage I'm using, this is the ground texture I'm going to use. So you remember, and you can easily get over there and just copy and use it throughout the zoo. It just sort of brings everything together when you do that. I realized I forgot to do anything in this planner box, so we'll just add a few things. Just do some of these. And a few rocks. And I think I'll change the texture in there, but not completely. Still want to have a little bit of dirt showing. It's more realistic. Okay, now let's go back to finish this barn. One of the things you'll notice is that there's some of the roof, or some of the fence, top of the fences is visible through the roof, and there is a way to fix that. Use this invisible path, which has no border, it's completely visible. You see, if you put it underneath it, it sort of conceals it because it levels the ground. You can do that with any path, but the invisible path is good for that because you can't actually see it, obviously. And I can't remember where you get the invisible path. Can't remember what site that's on, but if you just search Zoo Tycoon 2 invisible paths, you'll probably find it. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do here is just take this fence, bring everything together. Maybe add another tree over here, there, and then add the animals, and we can take a look at it. Alright, so here we are in Zookeeper mode. So you sort of see, get a look at exhibits. See, it's very simple. I mean, that did not take very long. There's not much to it, but I think it looks alright. You can go through here. Oh, I put this in the wrong place because it's actually the invisible wall because of the entrance. So let me just add another entrance real quick. Yeah, this zoo entrance has a little bit of a weird box to it. Let's just go into here, there, and we can actually get inside the exhibit. Take a look at the barn. I like this. Oh, I forgot to get rid of the pillars, but actually it doesn't look terrible there. At least it's symmetric in that area. But anyway, normally I would delete that. But I think this barn looks pretty cool. I think I've used this same barn design a couple times. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could add a little like the section, the middle part of it could raise up a little bit. Put glass in there or something just to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do. Let me know. This brings to the end of this episode or this video, obviously. Let me know what other things you guys want me to cover, what other animals you want me to do. I don't know if this is helpful. I don't know. I don't normally do this kind of video. I don't think I'm great at explaining things, but I'll do the best I can. Yeah, if there's any other things you've seen me do in videos you'd like me to cover. Oh, I didn't do the elevated path thing. Here, I'll show that real quick. So, to pause the game, you want the railings on the elevated paths to stay there after you've deleted. I don't know if this is high enough for me to do that. Yeah. I'll have to show you somewhere else. I can show you over here. I'll just show you somewhere random. Why not? So, it only works on straight paths, won't work on, you can't do like a diagonal path like this. Won't work. Use an elevated path. So you put a railing down, use this glass one. Delete it. Undo. Delete again. The elevated path will stay. But a game has to be paused, otherwise it won't work. Then if you do that and you want to get rid of it afterwards, like you decide you don't want it, just put it again, the path back, and then delete it again and it'll disappear. It's actually not a mod, it's just a glitch in the game itself, so anybody can do it even if you're not using any mods at all. Yeah, that's gonna do it, guys. So thank you for watching. Again, let me know any feedback you have, any questions you have about other things that I've done in videos and what you guys might want to see next. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.